So good evening. Again, thank you very much for joining me. I am Meredith Barry. I am one of the administrators with Lee Virtual School. I've worked with Lee Virtual School for nearly 12 years. And I've also worked with homeschool community for almost that long too. So it's definitely a learning opportunity that's very unique from brick and mortar setting. And I'm hoping this evening that you and your student will have a much better understanding of Lee Virtual and going forward, being able to make some good decisions about the learning style and the methodology that works best for your family. So before I begin, I like to get an idea of the audience. So do we have elementary families? Do we have middle school families, high school families? You're welcome to unmute yourself if you want to, or you can put in the chat box. Just like to get an idea.
High school.
High school. Okay, thank you, Ms. Anderson. High school.
Yeah.
Middle.
Elementary.
Okay. Got a middle and elementary. Okay, we have the whole gamut. Not a problem. Not a problem. I will show you what the courses actually look like, the majority of the courses. And now that I know we have elementary, middle, and high school, I will be sure to show you every level. Again, the more information you have, the better decisions that you can make. Oh, okay, thank you. In the chat box, I see another for middle. Yep, fine. That works just fine. Okay, so Lee Virtual School. We're going to talk about Lee Virtual School. Lee Virtual School is a public school. I'm going to be very clear right up front. Lee Virtual is a public school. It is not homeschool. So if your student is registered with Lee Virtual, do not ever say they're homeschool. They are Lee Virtual Public School. They are public school students who happen to spend most of their time at home. But the reason I keep stressing a public school is because I really want you and your student to understand that as a public school in Lee County, our students all abide by public school rules and regulations. One of those rules is instructional calendar. A lot of people think, oh, register with Lee Virtual School, you can work at your own pace. That's not true. We're a public school. We have to follow instructional calendar. So we're not able to let a student just randomly work at their own pace. And in a little while, I'll actually show you what the pacing looks like. And I will walk you through what flexibility within that pacing you have, while also letting you know what your minimums and the boundaries with which we operate are. Another reason why I stress that we are a public school is because our students all take part in the quarterly progress monitoring, just like brick and mortar school students do, including iReady at the elementary and middle level and STAR at the high school level, as well as Performance Matters. Also, our students all take part in the Florida State Assessments. Now, that test cannot be done in the home setting. So our students do come into the Lee Virtual office, which is housed in the Lee County Public Education Center on Colonial Boulevard. So in the springtime, during that traditional spring calendar, that March, April, May timeframe, all of our grade 3 through seniors come into that building to do whatever is required for their state assessments. So again, we are a public school. We abide by the school calendar that have definite start and definite end dates. We have very little wiggle room in terms of working at your own pace. We do progress monitoring, just like brick and mortar, as well as state testing. And I'll also make sure that I share a little bit more about that too, as we get into it a little bit closer. So public school, Lee Virtual. Now, it's true that our students do spend the majority of time in the home setting. And it is true that they are utilizing what's called a asynchronous learning methodology, which means they're logging into a pre-created account with pre-created courses. They're reading, they're essentially self-teaching, and then they're contacting their teacher for support when they need it. The second myth I need to clarify is that this is not Lee Home Connect. This is not Lee Home Connect. No, it does not. We are not. A lot of students did Lee Home Connect, which means they logged into Zoom all day, every day. They Zoomed with their teachers. They got live instruction with their teachers. They logged into Google Classroom where they found their work and they submitted their work. We are not Lee Home Connect. We do not use Google Classroom, and our students certainly don't spend 6-7 hours of the day on Zoom. Our students are spending their time working independently. And like I said, reaching out to their teachers when they need support. Now, the beautiful thing about that is our students learn very quickly where their voice is and how to advocate for themselves, because we rely on students contacting us. You know, we don't see them. We don't know exactly what they're going through. We don't know if they are understanding the content. So we heavily rely on students calling us. And in fact, sometimes I'll have a parent give me a call and they'll say, oh, you know, my son or my daughter, Jill, she's trying to work in her math class, but she's stuck on module 6. And I'll say, hold on. Either put me on speaker so that Jill can hear me, or put Jill on the phone, because Jill needs to be the one to develop her voice. She's got to be talking to me. She needs to tell me where she's stuck. She needs to be able to have that active communication. And you might be thinking, a kindergartner? Really? You have kindergartners do that? Yes, we do. We do. We ask that kindergartners are engaging with us. We want them to be able to walk through where they're stuck and talk to us about what they need more support on. So a big part of our school relies on students using their voice and communicating with us. Now, I know the first time a student communicates that way, it feels really weird. You know, kids will report to me, calling my teacher, really? That just feels odd. Yeah, the first time it is a little strange, but before you know it, students can hear our barking dogs in the background. We can hear, you know, their little brothers and sisters running around in the backgrounds. You know, we can hear what's going on in each other's houses, and before you know it, it's old hat, and it's not a big deal. So there is a heavy reliance on that communication factor. So before I go any further, I'm going to jump on over to you and see if you have any hot and heavy questions on your mind before I move into actually showing you what the content looks like. So go ahead, you can put in the chat box, or if you want to ask questions, go for it. Give you a chance to get some of that out that you're thinking about. Anybody have anything you really are eager to know?
Just a quick question. Sorry, good evening. Thank you. If by any chance they're not, and I think you might address, if you do address it later on, please, you can address it later. If they're having trouble with the curriculum, or they're a little behind on certain things, would they be able to have support, or like, let's say they can have a teacher explain things, or what's the word I'm looking for? Like when tutoring. Sorry, that's what I was looking for.
So there are times when our teachers are available online. There's twice that they're available online. One's what's called live lessons, and the other is like an office hour, help hour time frame. Those are moments when students can join a teacher through a Zoom format to be able to get a little bit more support. But as far as asking for, you know, like a one-on-one instruction, we're just not equipped for one-on-one instruction. Our teachers have uploads of 200 students per, and at the elementary level, many of our elementary classes are, like, for example, our 4th grade teacher has 80 kids that she's working with. So there's a heavy component on what's called the learning guide. And especially at the elementary level, the learning guide is absolutely imperative, because an elementary student cannot be expected to self-teach. There's a lot of middle school students that struggle with that. An elementary student cannot be expected to do that. And because it's not live Zoom lessons all day, because it is a reading and a writing based curriculum, there's a heavy reliance on that parent working with their student, almost doing that teacher role in the house. And then when support is needed, communicating with the teacher to get that extra and additional support. So in our model, the parent role or that learning guide role is far more important than it ever is with brick and mortar. In fact, we'll have parents who will say to us, stop calling me, Leave Virtual. Like, you're calling me, every couple of weeks to talk to me about my students' progress. I know, I can see it. I'm aware, because we want our families to always know what's going on and be a part of that, in order to bridge that gap that there may be. When it comes to, I think you mentioned about being behind, so I want to address that. When it comes to a student, like at the middle school or the high school level, who might be deficient in a credit, like perhaps they failed a course and they're doing a credit recovery, I would really caution them coming to our program. They can, absolutely. We have students in our school that are deficient in their credits, but here's the deal. In the brick and mortar setting, most middle school or high school students have 8 courses on their schedule. Most of them do. In Leave Virtual, our courses, because they're all reading and writing based, we don't give our students more than 6 classes. Their heads would explode if they had more than 6. At the elementary level, they get 4. 6 at the middle school and high school, 4 of those are your core. Elementary, language arts, math, science, and social studies. All of our middle school students then have iReady reading, and then they have 1 more elective. Well, if they failed a course and they're retaking that course, they now have no electives at all. They now have their 4 core, their reading, and that credit recovery. At the high school level, 4 core, unless you're a junior and you've already met your science or your social studies, then you might have a couple of core. But nonetheless, you're still doing some type of a reading course and you're still doing electives. And again, you've got 6 classes. So if you're a high school student and you're deficient in credits, you're probably utilizing like an E2020 or an Edgenuity format. Yes, we offer that. Yes, we have students who are taking that. We just find that because it is a heavy reading and writing based content, that most students who are deficient in credit, they struggle a bit, in our content. But absolutely, we can offer it. We can absolutely offer it. You got to remember, we're just like any other school in the county, just like any. So once the semester begins, it begins, and your students registered with us for the entire semester. And in our world, we're not able to give transfer grades. See, if you're going to Riverdale High School and then you all of a sudden move and now you're going to Cape Coral High School, Riverdale High School and Cape Coral High School are using the exact same curriculum. They have the exact same progression plan. They're submitting the same assignments. So if I go from Riverdale High School and then I go to Cape Coral, my gradebook and focus transfers with me. No harm, no foul. With Leave Virtual School, we're not using that curriculum. It doesn't align with that progression plan. So that it makes it extremely difficult for a student to then transfer. And because you're talking about seat time in order to obtain credit, it really is one of those schools that when you start on January 12th with us for semester 2, you're digging your heels in, you're getting that grit, and you're finishing it to the end of the semester. And then if next following school year, you want to go somewhere else, be back to a brick and mortar, I absolutely respect that. But it's extremely difficult for a student to start with Leave Virtual School, get say 4 weeks in, 5 weeks in, try to transfer to a brick and mortar because they're not taking any grades with them. And now we're really talking about jeopardizing, credits. So all the more reason why I love it when students join the conversation so that they can really hear, because so many kids think this is Lee Home Connect, and it just really, it really isn't. It really isn't. So, all right. Are there any other pressing questions? I'm going to read in the chat box, but remember again, you're more than welcome to unmute and ask if you've got that pressing question, and then I'm going to move on to showing you what the classes look like. One of the questions has to do with recovering or increasing any semester one grades at the high school level. Again, you can't increase a grade if you received a D or you failed it, then it would be a matter of E2020. But because we only offer 6 courses anyways, you're now really limiting your credits, especially at the high school level for graduation, but we can do it. Okay, that it's possible. Yeah, it's very possible that it might be a better fit with us rather than the brick and mortar. During absence, my son feels he's ready for face-to-face learning because he's not been in the process B to get my student. Oh, back into the physical school. Yep. So is the student already with Lee Virtual School? I'm a little confused about the last question about returning the student back to face-to-face. If you're currently a Lee Virtual School student, then yes, I can work with you to fill out the documentation to submit to student enrollment to have your student return to brick and mortar for semester 2. Yep, I can absolutely do that. We got a number of students that were with us for first semester. They're going to finish the semester strong, and then for January, they're heading back, to brick and mortar. And yeah, I can work with you on that. Okay. Anything else before I share my screen and pop into some classes here?
Ms. Barry? Meredith?
Yeah.
Hey, just a quick question. Are you going to be covering how my daughter goes about choosing her classes and registering?
Yes, I will.
Okay. Just want to make sure. Thanks.
No problem. Anything else?
Yeah, hi, Ms. Barry.
Yes, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I was the one that asked. My daughter is currently taking the Flex homeschooling.
Okay.
And she's enrolled in this session, January 13th. She starts with.
So if you're currently a homeschool student, you're not Lee Virtual Public. If you're a homeschool student, you reserve the right at any time to communicate with student enrollment, fill out the registration paperwork to return to school for January 12th. Yep, you absolutely have the right to do that. And you just work with student enrollment.
She started that. She starts with the Lee Virtual in January. But during that time, if it's necessary, or she feels comfortable to go back face-to-face, because she hasn't been face-to-face because she was in New York, and they were all virtual. Can she at any moment, we can process her, or she has to wait until next year?
She needs to, when she starts with us with Lee Virtual on January 12th, she's got to finish us with this semester, and then next August go back face-to-face. The transfer grades don't work. So she'll have to just finish with us. Yep, for the semester.
Are they allowed to participate with anything in the Lee public schools?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Can they participate with any of the school?
Okay, we'll talk about that. Good question. Yep, I will address that. Good one. Okay.
Thank you.
Yep, not a problem. And I'll also talk about dual enrollment for you too. I see that question pop up.
Thanks.
So we are a franchise of Florida Virtual, which means the majority of our courses come from Florida Virtual. Therefore, they are perfectly aligned with the Florida state standards and the best standards. We purchase those from Florida Virtual, so we pay for every course that comes from Florida Virtual. Majority of our classes are there. As I already said, if you're a student who needs credit recovery, that's going to be Edgenuity. So far, that's 2 different learning management programs. Then we use iReady. So there's a 3rd management program right there. Also, we use something called eDynamics, which is another curriculum management system. So when students are part of Lee Virtual, the majority of their courses are going to be found through a Florida Virtual website. But it is quite possible that every day they're logging into Florida Virtual, they're going on to iReady to do their learning path. If they need credit recovery, they're going into E2020. Maybe they're taking a course on eDynamics. So our students use their Chromebooks. We don't want them to use their own personal device, although they could, but they can't access everything they need. So when you're a Lee Virtual student, you do need to get a Chromebook from Lee Virtual School. So if you're currently a homeschool student, you will get a Chromebook. And again, I'll walk you through that whole process. So very, very, very important that students with Lee Virtual use the Chromebook. Another thing, and this actually just happened last week, we had a student that called us up, called the tech guy, and said, my work's not getting submitted. I'm turning in all of this work and it's not going into my grade book. And come to find out, this student's been using their own computer. So our tech guy, he couldn't help them. He couldn't, because he can't log into their computer personal device and see what's going on. So he said, if you were using the Chromebook, I could totally log in as you. I could see exactly what's going on with those assignments. But because you're not using the Chromebook, you're going to have to resubmit everything. So really important that people use the district Chromebook. So I'm going to share my screen here and walk you through what the courses look like. Okay, so you should now be looking at a Florida virtual website. Again, we use multiple learning management systems in our world, the majority of them being Florida virtual. If your student doesn't yet have a virtual account, do not make it. Do not make one. We will make one for you, and then we will provide your student with their login. If your student is currently a homeschool student and has an account, don't make a new one. We will update that current account to be matching ours. If you happen to be living in Orange County and your student has an account with Orange County, don't make a new one. We will transfer that account from Orange County to Lee County. So don't touch anything within the system. We will create it all, or we'll tweak and update if necessary. So your students will spend most of their day here. So they're going to log into their account. I'm going to log in real quick, where they will then get to the dashboard. So let me go ahead and grab a student here. All right, here's the dashboard. So every day, this is where your student's going to go. They're going to come to their dashboard. We have messages here that we need our students to read over and review. This message is saying, finish the semester strong. As you'll notice, Friday is really our last day. All of our pace charts are set so that kids are done with their courses a week early. Now, the semester doesn't really end until January 7th, but we want students done with their courses on the 17th so that the week of January 3rd is left for oopsies. Like, for example, maybe they turn in all of their work, they do all of their exams, and their final grade comes out to being a 79%. And the teacher says, oh my gosh, you know, if you resubmit this one assignment, I know your grade could be bumped up to a B. So that last week is always just in case something needs to be resubmitted. So we do ask our students to finish earlier, but we do abide by that semester end date of January 7th. So when we scroll down, all of the students' courses are listed here. Now, I specifically chose this student because she is a 5th grader who happens to be taking 5th grade courses and also 6th grade courses. And I want to point that out to you because in our world, acceleration is really the key here. Our students can work as quickly, as long as they're mastering the content, they can work through it much quicker than at the brick and mortar school. So when we talk about working at your own pace, remember I said, no, there's a minimum that you gotta turn in every week. You're not really working at your own pace. But for those kids who are mastering and accelerating, they absolutely are working much quicker and they can finish a course much sooner. So this young student, hear me very clearly, because this is so unlike brick and mortar. This 5th grade student started in August 5th grade math. She finished semester 1 and semester 2 of 5th grade math by November. In November, She then decided to start 6th grade math. So for our students who are accelerating, who are in the brick and mortar, are bored because they have to wait for everybody else, this is an ideal space because you really can move quicker through that content and get it done. Again, we'll keep up with you. There's no pressure from us. You can do the minimum and that's fine. But when you have a student who's really accelerated, we will support that. So you can see she's in 5th grade language arts, working on pace. She's almost done, doing great. She's already into 6th grade math. She's actually already into middle school, intermediate Spanish. She already finished beginning and now she's in middle. And she's still working away in her 5th grade science and her 5th grade social studies.
I have a question, if I may. Does that, if I'm understanding this correctly, does that mean that if she goes and start doing most of her work and she, let's say she's a freshman and she starts doing 10th grade, is that going to start counting towards for her sophomore, like if she goes ahead?
Yes, it does. And what happens is we don't change grade levels. You just end up becoming say you're finishing your 9th grade year ahead in your credits. So you're still going to go into 10th grade next year, but now you're a 10th grader taking 11th grade credits, so to speak. Our middle school students do it all the time. A lot of our middle school students will take high school, high school electives in addition to high school Algebra 1. So when they go into 9th grade, they go into 9th grade already having earned 1, 2 high school elective credits as well as high school Algebra 1. So let's just pop in there and take a look at what a elementary language arts course looks like. So you'll see this is the same, whether you're elementary, middle, or high school. This is exactly the same. This is called your announcement page. Every single course has an announcement page, and we ask our students to read it over. This is the daily announcements. So when you're in a brick and mortar school, the bell rings and tells you when you're going to start language arts, and the bell rings and tells you when you're done. We don't have bells. So you as a family, you decide when you start language arts and you decide when you stop language arts. And because I don't know what time you're going to be working in language arts, I got to make sure that I have all of the announcements and all the resources ready for you to go. So that's what this page is all about. This is where you will see all these important links. And again, whether you're in a middle school course or a high school course, they all look the same. We have all sorts of study guides and resources, and we expect students to use those. So when you're talking about a student who's stuck and doesn't not quite know what to do, chances are we've got a resource for that. And so it's a matter of clicking on the link, finding the study guide, go ahead and use it. Watch that quick little cheat sheet video that we made for you. Watch it as many times as you need to. Again, trying to empower the students so that they can utilize those resources for themselves and not rely on somebody else to tell them where to go or what to do. Brick and mortar school does that. Like I said, the bell rings, they tell you, now you're in math class. The bell rings, it tells you, now you're going to lunch. The bell rings, it tells you, now your day is over with. In our world, we're going to show you where all those resources are. And that way, when you're working in the course, you are empowered to be able to use them. This is called our pace chart. And this is the minimum. This right here is one of the things that our kids live and breathe by. This takes all the guesswork out of it. So if you want to know what a student's supposed to do, you look at the pace chart. So here it is. This is a 5th grade pace chart. And you can see it starts all the way from the first week of school in August. These pace charts are set for the entire semester. So again, you don't wait to be told what to do. It's all right here in front of you. So in 5th grade, you can see that during the first week of school, these are the 4 classes, and these are all of the lessons and the assignments that a student is expected to complete. And it tells you this is when it's due, by Friday, August the 13th at 4 o'clock. All of this work is expected to be turned in. Doesn't matter to me what day you turn it in. I don't care what time you turn it in, as long as it gets turned in. And when you're finished working, then you move into the next week. Now, again, then this is your minimum. This is your guide. So it's not about, I'm going to work when I want, I'm going to turn in what I want. No, this is exactly what you're turning in. You just decide, are you turning it in on Monday? Are you turning it in on Tuesday at 3 o'clock? Are you turning it in on Thursday at 8 o'clock at night? That's for you and your family to decide. But you'll notice the number of assignments. Look very closely at the number of assignments expected. Remember, this is 5th grade. And 5th grade has 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 assignments due in week number 2. Look at week number 3. Week number 4. And this is a big key for kids. They need to see this. In our world, our students master that content because they're doing a lot of work. They're turning in upwards of 12 assignments every week, whether you're in 5th grade, whether you're in 8th grade, whether you're in 10th grade, the average is about 15 assignments per week students are turning in. And you've got to remember, these are a mixture of some multiple choice, some short answer, and some essays. So kids in our world, they typically do really well on state assessments because the rigor of their courses is such that they know their stuff. When you're doing this much work every week and you're talking to teachers about what you're learning, our kids, they master it. They master it. So week to week, you can see all this. So we teach a student, this is your pace chart. Most families, if they have a printer, they'll print it out, and that now becomes a guide for their success. They now know every single week what they're working on. And it's not a matter of ever saying to your student, did you turn in your work? No, we don't ask those questions. What we say to the students are, open your pace chart, open your grade book. Let's celebrate what you've gotten turned in. So in our world, you don't ask a student if they turned in work. You say, show me what you've turned in. And this is what I mean by that. Go back to the course. Grade book. So focus. Focus is where your student's going to find their schedule, but focus is not where we put our grades. Grades go in our grade book, and you as a parent can make your own parent account and monitor, or you can ask your student to log in and show the grade book. I will tell you, and I say this with all due respect, the grade book never lies. This is exactly where assignments get turned in. This is exactly where you can see the day and time it was turned in. And you can see the grade the student is earning, and it's real time. So if a student turns in an assignment at, today at, let's see, at 6:30, maybe they turned one in at 6:28 p.m. this evening, I would be able to see 12/14, 6:28 p.m. And if your student says, I know I turned that assignment in, I promise I turned it in, but you don't see a day and a timestamp, or you don't see a grade, then we need to call up tech support and see what's going on. Because again, the pace chart, the grade book, they should always be going hand in hand. So that's why we say in our world, you don't ask a student if they turned in work. You say, open that grade book, open that pace chart, let's celebrate what you got turned in. Show me, show me, show me. Here's the other part. These assignments, for the most part, you can resubmit. We go for mastery learning. It doesn't mean a student can just turn in anything the first time around. We want them to always turn in the best work. But we understand that your students are students. They're learning. They're going to make mistakes. I make mistakes every day. I learn something new every day. I might turn in a report and have my boss come back to me and say, I need a little bit more information in this area of the report. This was good. Give me more info here. This part of it, that doesn't quite make sense. Walk me through what you meant by that. This is exactly what we do in our world too. So if your student turns in work and you're not satisfied with the grade, you are always welcome to fix it and turn it back in. And your teacher's going to give you feedback. I'm going to tell you exactly the areas that you can increase your grade by. The one assignment that never, ever, 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 ever can be resubmitted are assessments and final exams. Before a student can take an assessment or a final exam, you'll notice they have to do a discussion. This is that time when the student is going to be on the phone with the teacher talking about what they were learning. These are all password protected. And a student doesn't get the password if they can't demonstrate proficiency on the content. Because you cannot resubmit these, you get one shot. We want to make sure that a student is ready for it. So the student's going to do the DBA. They're going to have that conversation with the teacher. It gives the student a chance to ask for clarification if they need it. It gives the teacher a chance to say, no, I want you to go back and review fossils. I think you're still a little confused. Call me back. We're going to do the DBA again, but I'm not going to give you the password yet because I just don't think you're quite ready for the test. But it also gives the student to do the same thing. A student could get done with the DBA and say, don't give me that password. I'm stuck. I know I don't know enough about fossils yet. I want to go back and review fossils. I'm going to call you back, do this again, and then I'll take that password. So everything else a student can resubmit, but they cannot submit, again, an assessment. So let's take a look at this because this student got a little bit of a low score here. So I'm going to open it up. And this is an assignment that a student had to load, meaning it was an essay. A lot of our assignments are essays. A heavy, heavy amount of them are essays. So she had to write an essay and she had to upload it. And so it's uploaded here. She's got a couple of them. It looks like she turned in one on the 19th and then maybe again on the 30th. So again, you can resubmit a couple times and you'll be able to see all of the teacher's comments. Look at all of her comments. She's talking about all of the things that she can do to make it better. So the student can read over these remarks, go into that assignment or her lesson or that Google document, make the necessary changes, resubmit it for a better grade. But it does rely on the student to read the feedback and then to fix and resubmit. So a lot of our assignments are exactly like this, where you have to write the essay and you have to upload it as a file for us to grade. 5th grade, I'll show you the lessons really fast. You can see, again, I told you it's reading based. Whether you're in elementary, middle, or high school, you'll be able to see that. So this is English. We've got all of the modules here. We'll just jump into one of these modules. In module 3, you can see we have 8 lessons in here. So we know we have at least 8 assignments. So if we just jump into it, you'll be able to see this particular lesson is 9 pages long. So it would definitely be an assignment that you're not going to do all in one day. You'd be doing it over multiple days. I can't imagine there's a 5th grader who could handle 9 pages worth of language arts in one day. So usually they would do it over multiple days. That's why our students work in all of their courses every day, Monday through Friday. So you got all of these extra tools up here so students can click on all of these additional resources for support. And you read the page, you do whatever the activity is, and you go to the next page. Again, you're reading the page, you're doing whatever the activity is, and you move on. And this is exactly what the lessons look like. Again, that reading-based component to it. There's no video that you're watching. You might have some activities that you're doing, but our students definitely hone their reading skills. Read again, you got an activity. It looks like it's a story that you're reading here. And you move on to the next page. And then I'll just jump to the end real quick. At the end of the lesson is where you find the assignment. Now, we already knew the assignment because we looked at our pace chart, so we already knew, but this is exactly where we also find it right here. So this is going to be this student right here, here we go. Submit your opinion writing. So here's another example of a written paper that the student had to write. So she had to write an essay about her opinion of 3.02 stories, Cajun country. So when she's finished with this, then she just continues and she moves on. And then goes back to the pace chart and just crosses off the list. So I happened to click on this week. So you can see in this one particular week, the student was doing 3.02, 3.03, and 3.04. So all of those were due in this particular week. Now I want to show one other thing, and then I'm going to jump over and show a middle school course and then a high school course. But another thing I want to show you is live lessons. So we do, like I said, there are those times when teachers are online and available for help. That information is always right here in the middle of the page. So again, you never have to wonder when the teacher's available through a Zoom. It's always right here, right smack dab in the middle. And so it'll tell you the day and the time, and often it will even give you the topic. So we're at the end of the semester, and it looks like Mrs. Carter is doing makeup testing. So it would be iReady makeup testing. So she's telling her students tomorrow at noon, she'll be online. You're more than welcome to jump online, get help, see what you need. She'll be there to assist you. Let's jump over to let me go to another student here. Okay, this is an 8th grade student. And again, I'm showing you this because this is an 8th grade student who's taking 3 high school courses. So when he finishes the school year, he will go into 9th grade next year with multiple high school credits. He's taking a high school elective, digital infotech. He's taking a high school elective, Hope, and he's doing high school algebra 2. So this is a young man that during middle school, he moved and grooved through your middle school math courses. Then he finished algebra 1, then he finished geometry, and now this year he's working in algebra 2. Again, giving our kids the ability to accelerate at their quick pacing. So let's just jump in and take a look at, we'll just go ahead and look at this 8th grade class here. So for all you middle schoolers out there, again, you'll notice announcement page looks the same as it did at elementary, looks the same. You know, teacher information at the top, you got the pace charts in the same spot. Here's her live lesson schedule. So she's telling you, hey, 8th graders, Wednesday at 10:30, I'm doing a writing workshop. So if you need some help in writing, log in, join me. She's also saying, hey, at 11:45, I'm doing homework help. So if you need some help, jump on. I'm available. I'll work with you. And then Friday at 9 a.m., if you want to do a little extra studying with me for that final exam, pop in. I'll help you there. So these are available to students should they want to take advantage of them. So let's take a look at the pace chart. It will look a little different, although the idea is still the same. So here we are, 8th grade language arts. Again, the pace chart looks a little different because now you're looking at one subject at a time on the pace chart. So you can see that the first week of school in August, which ended August the 13th, these were all of the assignments that were due. And it just tells you every single week what you're working on and what that due date is. So again, middle school students, you never have to wonder what you should be turning in because this tells you. And these are live links. So we often will have these links going somewhere else as more resources for you. Again, really training kids that we want to tell you where the resources are so that when you're working, you can get your hands on those resources and really use them. So as we go through, you can see most of these weeks, you've got at least 2, if not 3 assignments due. So again, if you've got 6 courses, you're looking at easily, you know, a dozen assignments every week that you're turning in easily. So you can see here. And you'll also notice that, again, we try to have everything due before the semester ends to allow for that resubmission if necessary. And if we just jump in, I will show you, again, the grade book, identical to elementary, identical. All of the assignments, everything gives you a day and a timestamp, and it gives you the score, and it gives you the ability to resubmit. Here you can see this module exam got a 74%. He cannot resubmit that. That score is what it is. You cannot fix it. So all the more reason for why you really want to make sure as you go along, you're mastering those concepts and you're working in order. And then if we hop over to the lessons, again, middle school students, so that you can see what it looks like. This is 8th grade language arts. Oh, we'll just jump into, we'll go to module 2. Module 2, you've got 12 lessons, which means you have 12 assignments. So let's just go ahead and jump into one of those. This particular lesson 2.04 is a total of 10 pages long. Again, not something that you're probably going to do in one setting. You're probably going to work on a few of those pages one day, maybe a few more the next day, so on and so forth. But again, all reading, maybe some activities, you move to the next page. So self-teaching. So if you think about math, for example, very much the same. You're going to be reading math. You're going to be self-teaching math. Science labs. You will do labs in the privacy of your own home. Those will be all items that you'll do. You'll take care of there. And if we jump down to the last page, again, this is where we find our assignment, although we already know it because it's on our page chart, but this is where we find it. And then when I'm done working in this course, this gives me the ability to jump to one of my other classes and take a look at that. So for you high school students out there, now I'm in a high school math course. Again, you can see it's the same idea. You got the announcement page with your teacher's info at the top. She's walking you through the times that she's available online, and you've got your page chart. And of course, all of your resources down below that we ask students to use. And so if I just open up that page chart, all right, so here's the page chart for Algebra 2. Again, when you take a look at it, you're seeing most weeks you've got 2, if not 3 assignments due. So again, 6 courses that you're looking at, somewhere around 12, 15 assignments, high school kids that you're working on. So it tells you exactly what you're working on, and they're always due by Friday at 4. And if we jump back into the grade book, looks the same at the high school level, just like it did at elementary and middle. This student is just starting segment 2, just got access to it. So as you can see, he has not turned anything in yet. So his grade book is blank. So he actually hasn't turned anything in. He's starting it early. Remember, technically he doesn't need to start this until January 12th, but he wants access to it now. So he'll be able to start working in this course now and submitting assignments. So he'll be able to do this one. And then just thinking about it here. Now this happens to be an auto graded assignment. So he would go through, answer all of the questions, and then submit it. So before I continue on, what questions do you have for me about, and again, I'll get to course selections, I'll get to dual enrollment. Talk to me. What questions do you have about what you're seeing right here? Yep, somebody wants to know, is it possible to get more credits? It absolutely is. In the case of some students, they may end up, see, every semester is designed to be done in about 16 to 18 weeks, which is a traditional semester. But if a student works at an accelerator rate, they could get that 18 weeks worth of work done in 1 quarter. So some students will work really accelerated and get all of that content done in quarter 3. And then they'll be able to do semester 2, or with the following course in quarter 4. But here's the caveat. Remember when we started the conversation, I said, we're a public school that has to abide by definitive start and definitive end. Our school year ends June 2nd. Our teachers are done June 3rd. They go on summer vacation. So if a student starts a course late, meaning sometime after January 12, they absolutely must have it done by June 2nd to get credit. We cannot extend that into the summer, and we cannot delay it until finishing in the following year. It's an all or nothing thing. So sometimes kids are really eager. They really, really want to work at an accelerated rate. Well, it's okay to go slow to go fast, because I would rather have a student be steady, on pace, and finish, rather than say, I'm going to work really hard and get this done, and then not. And now we have to give them a failing grade because they didn't finish it. But absolutely, a student does have the ability to work quicker. Can they graduate from high school early? Yeah, I mean, as soon as the students met all the graduation requirements, they can. But quite frankly, I think that's a silly idea. If you got 4 years of high school and you're done with all your credits in 3 years, then take that 4th year and get college for free. Do dual enrollment, go to a tech school for free. Now, we do have some students that don't have any desire to go to a college or a tech school, and they are finished and they want to graduate and go on and be, in their adult life, and that's totally okay. But we always try to tell kids, if you're going to finish early, meaning you're going to get all of the credits and meet all your graduation requirements in 3 years, really look at using that 4th year to your advantage and doing some college for free. That's called dual enrollment. So we are a public school in Lee County. We follow all the dual enrollment rules, just like Lehigh Senior and Cypress Lake High School and Fort Myers High School. So if you qualify, we absolutely work with students to take courses at FSW, FGCU, Fort Myers Tech, and Cape Coral Tech. Obviously, you've got to qualify. There comes with GPA requirements, and there comes with test scores. You've got to demonstrate that you're reading and writing and performing math on the college level. But yeah, our school counselor at the high school level is Maria Baker. She works with high school students all the time to meet those requirements, and then assist them with scheduling into courses, finding out what courses would be best for them to take. What does that methodology look? Now, remember what I said, all of our high school kiddos have 6 classes. So if you're doing dual enrollment, you're going to still end up with 6 courses. You just might have a combination of some college and some Lee virtual, but you still got to carry. And if I have anybody out there who's going into their senior year, and you might say, well, I only need 3 credits to graduate. Well, we're a public school. We can't give you just 3. We're going to give you 6, just like you would if you were at Cypress Lake High School or you were at Mariner High School. They're going to give you a full load, and so do we. It's how we're funded. So all of our kids take 6 credits worth of courses, even if they don't need that many. We have to provide them all of them. Do we get the enrollment approval still this week? So we only can approve a student for dual enrollment if they're currently a Lee virtual student. We are not able to do any enrollment permissions for dual enrollment if you go to another school. That all has to be done by that school, and then you would come to us with all of that in place. Once you're with us in January, then we can work with you to get you ready to go for dual enrollment next August. But if you're not a Leave Virtual student right now, we cannot help you with dual enrollment right now. Whatever school you're at would need to help you with dual enrollment if you're looking to start it in January. Another person wanted to know if they're currently a Leave Virtual School student, they finish segment 1, just like this young student here, you can absolutely continue into segment 2. We can make that course available to you. Absolutely.
Meredith, can I ask?
Yeah, go ahead.
My daughter right now is in a brick and mortar school and she's in dual enrollment.
Okay.
And those classes are actually finishing up this week. And then she registered for her next set of classes.
Mhm.
So can she stay in those classes through January 11th as she's switching over to the Leave Virtual public school?
Well, what she'll need to do is let Maria Baker know exactly what courses she signed up for. And then
Okay.
Maria, is it FSW or FGCU?
FSW.
Then Maria will need to tell FSW that your student is now attending Leave Virtual, so that FSW will change the record of enrollment there to know where to send the grades. The
Okay.
grades currently are going to go to her current brick and mortar school, but then Maria's going to tell FSW effective January 12 that quote unquote bill now goes to Leave Virtual and the grades go to Leave Virtual as well. And then that's going to impact her schedule. Because, so for example, if she's taking English composition there at FSW, we're not going to give her English. She's satisfying that English there. So of her 6 courses, one of them has been covered. So now we got to look at the other ones.
And the Maria Baker information, you'll send that out?
Yep, I'll give it to you. Yep.
Wonderful, thank you.
Do you get early access? If your school's in a if your student is in a physical school for the rest of the semester, we cannot, if you're coming to us starting January 12, your student will get access to their courses on January 12. Oh, got it. So if you submitted your transfer waiver request to student enrollment, the week of December 20th, student enrollment will be mailing to you the letter letting you know officially about coming on over to Leave Virtual School. Yeah, student enrollment. They processed all of it. They'll send you the letter. Thank you for clarifying. I didn't quite read it that way. So I appreciate you clarifying that. Yeah, December the 20th, the week of the 20th is when student enrollment's going to mail out all those letters letting you know for sure that your student's registered. Yeah. Well, the application is a waiver. If you did it through student enrollment, yeah, it would have all gone to the student enrollment, correct?
So I have a question.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
So what you're saying right now, like, you did the waiver. So does that mean that, right now she's in a brick and mortar school and so high school. And so does that mean that then she is taken out of the Lee public, physical school, and then she'll be here? So like, let's say that the goal is to go back to a brick and mortar for the fall 2022. Do we have to do student enrollment this coming January for that?
Yep, you will.
Even though you would be in the virtual. Okay.
Yep, you will. If your student's currently at a brick and mortar school, they're going to finish the semester there, meaning they're going to go all the way through January 7, make sure they finish strong, pass all their courses. And then on January 12, they're now a Leave Virtual School student. They'll finish the semester with us. But if for August, you want your student to go back to a brick and mortar school, then yes, you will have to work with student enrollment in the winter to do the application or the waiver to go back to a brick and mortar. Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
Yeah. And like last year, student enrollment like saved the seat, so to speak. I don't know that they're doing that anymore. I don't know that there is that landing space where kids just by default go back to. I don't know that they're doing that anymore. And they did last year. I don't know that they're doing that anymore.
Okay, and I don't know if this is, thank you. I don't know if this is a question, you know, in this, it seems to me like it goes with what you just talked about. I saw on your question and answer on your website about a hybrid option.
Yeah, yep.
Are you gonna explain that at later?
Yes,
or-
I am.
Okay.
Yep, absolutely.
All right.
Yep. And I'm going to talk about that when I talk about requesting courses. So yes,
All right.
yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to look at the website real quick because I've had a couple of people ask about Chromebooks. So let's talk for a second about Chromebooks and elementary packets. So as I already said, in our world, our students absolutely need to use the district issued Chromebook. If you don't yet have a district issued Chromebook, for example, some elementary schools did not give kids Chromebooks. Okay, fine. We will give you one. When you're on our website, you will notice there is already information about how to pick up the Chromebook. In addition, there's something called elementary packets. So when it comes to especially kindergarten, first and second, so much of what a student is doing takes that coordination and that dexterity. They've got to write stuff out. It can't all be done online, although all of the work is submitted online. There has to be some part of it that's paper pencil. The parent might end up taking a photo and uploading that into the grade book, but there's some part of it that needs to be more manipulative for the student. That's called an elementary packet. So we allow parents to come up to our office in grades K through 5 and get some of that paper stuff. Some families, they have a printer and they say, don't worry about it. If we need it, we'll print it ourselves. Other families will say, we're just going to use regular old paper pencil. Don't worry about it. And then we have other families that say, gosh, we really could use that packet. That would be great to have those guidelines. Not a problem. So this is where you find it, is right here. So if you're new to Leave Virtual School, or if you're leaving us, this is what you're going to do. My students new to Leave Virtual, how and when do I pick up my school issued device? See schedule below. My students in grades K through 5, how to pick up my curriculum packet? See schedule below. So right here, starting the week of January 10, you can come into the Leave Virtual office all day, 9 to 3. We have some evening appointments as well. All you got to do, come on in the north entrance of the building. And when you walk in that entrance, you will see Leave Virtual School will have everything set up. You grab your packet, we give you the Chromebook, and you're on your way. So it will be available that entire week. If your student is currently in a brick and mortar school, like maybe your student goes to Colusa Middle and Colusa Middle says, I want that Chromebook back. Technically, that Chromebook belongs to Colusa Middle. If you're not going to be with semester 2, give it back to Colusa Middle. No problem. They're right. That device is actually, they own that device. So if you are currently a brick and mortar student and you're told that you have to return the Chromebook, no problem. You also, the week of January 10, can swing by the Leave Virtual office and we'll give you a Chromebook. That's not a problem at all. Not at all. That is correct. We do not do packets for grades 6 through 12. Packets are only at the elementary level. That is correct. So if you're looking for getting that information, whether it's your packet or it's your Chromebook, you can swing by the week of January 10. We're there pretty much all day, including a couple evenings, and you can pick it up and grab that for you. Remember, school starts January 12th. So really, ideally, we'd love to have your student have all those materials by January 12th, because the training is going to start at 9 a.m. on January 12th. Also on our website, is where you're going to find some information about courses. So as I've already said, we don't want your student making their own virtual account. We do not want that. And we don't want your student going in and self-requesting courses in their virtual account. We want your student communicating with their school counselor for that. So when it comes to picking courses, it's very individualized, other than for middle school, the progression is pretty much the progression, meaning if you're in 7th grade, you're going to have 7th grade civics, you'll have 7th grade science, 7th grade language arts. But there is some selections that kids do want to make. Like I said, maybe you want to take a high school elective course, or maybe you're in high school and you're doing dual enrollment. So we do allow our students to communicate with our school counselors and to really do some individualized support with that. And we really, really enjoy it when they do communicate with us on there. So the course catalog here, if you just click on the LVS course catalog, you'll be able to see all of the different courses that are available. Now let's talk at the elementary level. Let's talk for a second about some of these special courses, because as you know, at the elementary level, you definitely have the 4 core, but we have some elementary students that really want to do, say, an online art class or an online Spanish course or an online computer class. No problem. We will work with your student to make that happen. That's absolutely okay. But here's my advice to you. Go slow to go fast. Let your student be in those 4 elementary courses for 2 weeks. Get your groove on. You're the learning guide. Figure out your schedule. Really understand how to submit work. Understand how it all works. And then if after about 2 weeks, you and your student are really feeling comfortable, you've got your groove, and now you want to add another class, we absolutely can help you do that. But at the elementary level, I just find really honing in on the 4 core, mastering all of that, then adding the special, you'll still have plenty of time to finish by the end of the year. Absolutely. At the middle and high school level, we're going to start you on January 12th in your 6 courses. You will have the week of the 12th to make changes should you need it. So for example, maybe you are a middle school student and you decide to register for intermediate Spanish. But then you get into intermediate Spanish and you're looking at the content and you realize, oops, I think I'm in over my head. I think I really need to be in beginning Spanish. Not a problem. We can make those kinds of changes during that first week, that week of January 12th. You'll still be okay with finishing everything on time. What we don't want to do, middle school and high school students, is 2 weeks in, be making changes. Because remember, you've got to start that class from the beginning. So if you're starting it 2 weeks late, you're now maybe 6 assignments behind and you still have to finish by June the 2nd. So we really do want middle school and high school students. We'll work with you. We'll absolutely, we will absolutely help you with making changes, but we really want to do it during that week of January the 12th for sure, during that time frame. Now I'm going to put in the chat box some information to everybody. Actually, you know what? Bear with me for a second. I'm going to put something on my screen. I'm going to stop sharing for real quick. So get your cameras ready. You can take a picture of my screen here. Almost finished. Almost finished. Hold on. Where did my notes go? Almost. I'm just writing a little cheat sheet up here for you. And then you can take a photo of this. And I want you to have that contact information right handy so that you can start reaching out to your school counselor tomorrow to finalize those schedules. We have plenty of time, but I don't blame you for wanting to get it done sooner than later. I don't blame you at all for that. And I got one more here. Okay. And we'll be able to. And he is 939. There we go. Okay, I'm going to share my screen again. And then you can take a photo of this. Okay, there you go. On the screen. So go ahead and grab your cameras or your phones and go ahead and take a photo. If you're a high school student, grades 9 through 12, you're working with Miss Maria Baker. There's her email, there's her office line. If you are grades K through 8, elementary and middle, you're working with Mr. Robert Barnes. There is his email and his direct line as well. And you're more than welcome to begin to reach out to them. I know for a fact that Mr. Barnes has already created multiple virtual accounts and he's already actively communicating with students to get schedules set. And I know Maria has worked with a couple of kiddos, especially who have a unique schedule. So let's talk about unique, meaning hybrid. So prior to the pandemic, we had a few students who would who would register with Lee Virtual School. They would have their 6 courses, meaning they would do their 4 core with Lee Virtual, and then their 2 electives they would do at a brick and mortar school. We would have a student such as maybe they were specially in the dance program at Cypress Lake Middle. So that's a hybrid schedule. We were able to allow a student to do their 4 core with us and then the dance courses at Cypress Lake Middle. We can still work with kids to do that, but I would really caution you, think very carefully about that. There's no bus transportation. So if you do that, your student is a Lee Virtual School student first and foremost. And then you would have to get your student over to the brick and mortar according to their schedule. They're only permitted to be on campus according to that schedule. So no more than. So if their schedule says, oh yes, we can accommodate you in 3rd period for that course, but 3rd period doesn't start until 10:45, then you've got to get your student there by 10:45 and then pick your student up immediately after 3rd period. They can't just show up and hang and then ride the bus home. So the parameters are a little different. They only have permission to be on campus at that one given moment. So if you are looking at that hybrid schedule, I would really think carefully about that. And also talk to your student very carefully about that level of rigor that I've shown you. This is not live Zoom. This is not Lee Home Connect. The students are not on a video all day with teachers. So one of the questions in the chat box says is, are they on live video? No, our students are not. They're logging into their courses. They're reading the content. They're self-teaching. They're using the pace chart so they know what assignments to turn in. And then they talk to their teacher when they need help. So some students need to be in 6 courses with Lee Virtual and get that schedule set. And then the following year, add in maybe a hybrid a hybrid schedule, because it sounds like a really good idea. But when you think about like spring testing in March, April, and May, when we have springs testing, that's non-negotiable. Your students going to miss their classes at their brick and mortar school because they must be on our campus doing that spring testing. So it's not a matter of, oh, your Algebra 1 FSA starts at 9 o'clock, but he's got his ROTCs at 9 o'clock. Well, he's going to have to miss ROTC. So being enrolled with us first is always going to trump anything that they would do at the brick and mortar. And then when should I contact my school counselor? Tomorrow. Remember, in our world, proper planning prevents poor performance. So there's no harm in you reaching out to your school counselor tomorrow and saying, hey, Mr. Barnes, my name is Meredith Barry and I'm in 7th grade. I'm going to be with Lee Virtual starting in January. I want to talk to you about my classes, or I've got some other classes. I've got some other questions. Reach out to them. You always start that conversation early and you can get everything set and squared away. Absolutely. All right, before I move on to my last point, are there any other questions that might be hot and heavy on your mind? And then I'll wrap this up.
I have a question. I think for me, I went in and looked at the what you pulled up and I printed out those classes. Is there somewhere on the website where you can click on each of those classes and look up a description of what that is?
So because we're a franchise of Florida Virtual, you could go onto the Florida Virtual website and you'd be able to go to the course catalog that way and get a little snippet of a description. So for example, if you are looking at a middle school class and you see, oh, they offer guitar, I wonder what that's all about. Click on it and that's where you're going to get your description. Keep in mind that classes like guitar, which is a year-long credit, we will give your student semester 1 content, even though we might be in semester 2 of the school year. We would have that student start, semester 1 now, meaning in January. And then if they're still with us next August, then we can have them finish the course. It alters it a little bit, but we would never have a student jump into segment 2 without having done semester 1. But right here is where you can find it. So just simply go to the flvs.net courses, and that's where you're going to find that catalog.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep,
and then
you're welcome.
Classes, then you can go ahead and contact the school counselor in regards to this as what.
Yep, that's right. If you are a middle school student and you're very interested in some high school courses while you're in middle school, then all you need to do is say, hey, Mr. Barnes, that Meredith Barry lady told me that I might be able to take a high school elective. What would you recommend? And he'll tell you the high school electives that would be very manageable for a middle school student.
Okay.
Same thing with elementary. If you're an elementary family and you're thinking, some of those electives might be a little interesting, or my student's accelerating. Reach out to Mr. Barnes. He'll walk you through it. He'll give you some really great food for thought. The more information you have, the better decision you can make.
Okay. And then really quick, thank you. As far as what does flex and full-time mean in those classes? And then the second component of that question is, how do you know, is that going to be something that the school counselor does as to like where your child needs to be assigned as far as like, for example, math or reading? Like what would be the next from what she now?
If your student is a current brick and mortar school, we're going to align with brick and mortar. So if your student's in Algebra 2 right now, we're going to continue with Algebra 2.
Okay.
We'll absolutely follow that progression. If your student's in chemistry, we're going to continue with chemistry. That in that sense, we try to align as much as we possibly can to ensure that full credit and that robust credit is given. If you have a student that completed like that segment 1 of a course last year, you are more than welcome to have them jump in and do segment 2 with us in January. That is absolutely fine. We can piecemeal that together to finish that up.
Okay.
I was on a IEP meeting today with the student who is at brick and mortar doing Spanish. And he and I were talking about his schedule. And I said, well, you're taking Spanish right now, you know, at Varsity Lakes Middle. Is that something you want to continue with Leave Virtual? And he said, no, no. He said, please, no, I don't want to continue with Spanish. I wanted something else. So then I said, not a problem. What are you interested? Are you an art guy? Are you a photography guy? Or are you a computer guy? Are you PE? Like, tell me what you're interested in. And then we kind of went back and forth to ultimately settle in something for him.
Okay. Okay.
Yep.
Sounds good. Thank you.
And then somebody wanted to know about their login information. So they wanted to know, how do I get my login? We will send it to you. Again, you do not make your account. We've already created your account and we will send you your login information, and we will through an email, and then we'll ask you to go ahead and log into your account, update your password, update some information within your account. We will send it to you. And you can expect that to come more towards the end of winter break or the first week of January 3rd, when we come back from the break, is when we're going to be sending out that information. Also, we will send to you what we call the first days of school event. And I can give you a little bit of a sneak peek into that. So as I said, the first week of school is heavy training, heavy training. So you and your student can expect to spend a lot of time on Zoom, January 12th, 13th, and 14th, because we got to train you. And then the following week, you're flying solo. So we will send to you, we call them the first days of semester 2. You can get a sneak peek at this. I haven't even shown this to my staff yet, but in here, you will notice that it's broken into each day. We give you the topic, we tell you the time, and we'll give you the Zoom link. And so this is going to walk you through training in pieces so that we can give you just enough information without making your head explode. So for example, on day 1, all of our students and their learning guides will be a part of opening ceremonies at 9 a.m. And then we'll move into that Florida virtual account, where if you haven't yet logged in, we're going to teach you how to log in. We're going to do some training within Florida virtual. We're going to walk through students how to find their page charts, how to get themselves organized within the home setting. We're going to walk them through how to turn in their assignments. We're going to have them practice doing that. At the elementary level, it's also a time for the learning guides to learn that as well. Then we're going to take a break for a little while. You do lunch on your own, then coming back together again at 1 o'clock, where we will talk about attendance. We're a public school, so attendance matters for us, just like brick and mortar. We do have to track attendance. So we'll train students how to submit their attendance each day. So we'll have those as breakout sessions as well. And then we'll wrap everything up at around 2:30 with our closing ceremonies. But it doesn't mean that your day is over. We've just given you enough information to get you started. So then students are expected to be spending that day engaged. They're expecting to be in those courses, finding those page charts, submitting those assignments, working independently. And then day 2, again, another welcome in the morning. And then we're going to jump in and teach them how to use focus. And then for some students who might have E2020 or need help with finding iReady, we're going to do a lot of training to access the other management systems. We're going to talk to kids about how to communicate. What is a DBA? How do you communicate by phone and by text? And what is professional as a student and a teacher when you talk about communication? What is the expectation? If I send you an email right now, do I expect that you're going to read it in 10 minutes? So, there's a lot of training in that first week. It is all a lot of Zoom. We want students to be with their camera on, but that is not a mountain that we're willing to die on. So we want kids engaged. If they don't want their camera on, we're expecting that the learning guide is making sure that they're engaged and that they're listening and learning. And eventually they'll get comfortable and turn their camera on. So we would like the camera on, but that's not something that we're going to argue with you about. We're trusting that the adult in the home is making sure that the student's engaged and participating. All right. Okay. All right. So again, if you submitted your application or your waiver with student enrollment the week of December 20th, you can expect to get your letter in the mail, just confirming your placement. And then the week of January 3rd, for sure, you'll start to get communications with Leave Virtual about your login information and inviting you to the first week of school event.
Hi, Ms. Barry.
Yes, go ahead.
I have a question. So we cannot use another computer. It has to be the Chromebook.
It does. Yeah, it does, because there are programs that you cannot access on your own device. We're a public school, so you have to use the Launchpad on the district computer. I'll tell you a secret though. If you have another device, you should use it. Every student can be logged into their virtual account on up to 3 devices. So a lot of students will log in on their Chromebook to be able to access their assignments.
Okay.
But on their own device, they'll also log into their account so they can access their lessons. And that way they're looking at their lesson and their assignment at the same time, and they're submitting the assignment on the district Chromebook.
Okay, I understand. I have another question real quick. Are we able to pick up the Chromebook and the package earlier than January 10th or no?
No, because Print Shop, we have to order from Print Shop printing our materials, and they told us that Print Shop, the materials will come in sometime the week of January 3rd. So, yeah. And yes, Zoom is on the Chromebook. We will send kids the link so that they just have to click on the link to open up the Zoom. Yep. Good questions. I'm going to put our school counselor's information back on the screen again. That way, if you didn't catch it, you'll be able to again.
Excellent. Will these be the thing that you just had on the page? Would that be recorded for parents to watch later or no?
We usually record everything that we do to have available as a resource. So I can't imagine why it wouldn't be recorded as well.
Okay, so we would be able to go back into those and watch them after.
Yeah, and remember, every single within every single course, you have all of those resources at the bottom of the announcement page where you're going to find a lot of the same items already recorded there for you too. So yeah, there's multiple places to be able to find the discussion about DBAs or the discussion about how to submit assignments. Yeah. If there aren't any other questions, I'll go ahead and wrap up this for tonight. We are doing this again on Thursday. So if you want to join me again on Thursday, you're welcome to do so. That's not a problem, at all. This is getting recorded and it will be posted to our website tomorrow also. So Mr. Metzner, our instructional tech, he just has to go in and edit some of it, and then he'll get it posted for you. But again, that's pretty much it for tonight. That's a lot of information. If you've got more questions, I'll hang out here for just a little bit longer. But otherwise, we're around. Give us a call. We'll walk you through it. Remember, there's no silly questions. The more you know, the better decision you can make. You're welcome. Thank you for your time. Thanks for joining me. Jose, you asked some really great questions, by the way.
Did she ever answer your question?
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Have a good evening.